Perkett now position 3.
How was that start from Perkett? He had to lift. I mean, he had so much speed going in there that if Blanchard had left a tiny little hole down the inside, he would have been leading the race. So what a start.
Blake Varney, the Autobahn car, he's up to 4th there, having a ripper weekend, but James Moffat, who is trying to fight back and win this round to send 2007 out in style. It's
look
busy
at those
here.
cars stuck around. Tyres a little bit cold, so the cars are moving around on them. Moffat got a, well, I wouldn't say terrible start, but certainly not a great one. And these cars, they're on a radial type tyre, so they've got slight grooves, and we see a car go off.
James Crozier,
and he's going to be very lucky not to hit that tyre barrier on the outside. These cars are very light, so they skate across the top of the sand traps. They don't dig in like the V8 Supercar does. But you can see, even after 3 corners, that car's throwing off stones that they've gripped up through tyres, getting nice and warm from obviously running hard on this surface.
The racing in Formula 4 this weekend has been simply unbelievable. You can tell it's got a very much end-of-term feel, end-of-year feel. A replay here now over at Siberia, and that's Crozier there.
I think he was just a little bit too wide there, and when you get out, there's some marbles there. They don't sweep the track in between races. You don't need to be much offline. Get on the marbles, and then, of course, the car doesn't grip up and you slide off the circuit into the tyres. And you see these guys bring up a bit of cement dust. Obviously, there's been a little bit of action early on, and you get a slipstream effect, and that's allowed Ashley Walsh to go into the lead. See Blanchard coming back at him from the outside, but it's a long way around from there. He'll never, ever pull that off.
Now, Ashley Walsh has been to the UK this year, raced at the Formula Ford Festival, and Tim Blanchard is on a plane this week to the UK to test with the German racing team in the British Formula 4 Championship, eyeing a move to the UK, which is where so many young Aussie stars have headed at the moment. But Ashley Walsh, very defensive.
Well, very defensive. He's out wide, and Blanchard's driven straight around the outside of him. It's a long way round, and they'll be trying so hard not to interlock wheels because these cars are quite soft on the suspension, and if you bang into wheels too hard, then it'll tear a corner off the car. So they'll be giving each other a little bit of room there. But let's have a look at this start. And look at Perkett. He's on the 3rd row, and look at that car jump.
Straight around the outside of Josh Scott, also James Moffat. Straight up the inside.
And look how much more speed he's got than the leaders. He's arrowing down at them at 100 miles an hour. Just has to prop there as they turn into turn 1.
Really a case of nowhere to go. That is not the way to park at Phillip Island. Luke Wood is involved there. Safety car has been called on lap 2 in the final race of Formula Ford.
Let's hope all the drivers are out of that car because, oh yeah, we've got 3 drivers out because that looks a bit nasty from the other angle.
That is just plain strange. That's Sam Sewell's car that's involved there, the black 62 car. So the safety car has been called. Ashley Walsh is the race leader. Here's the replay.
Oh dear, that's nasty.
Sam Sewell was the first to go there.
Well, he's had a spin.
It's to be a kipper in there. Oh,
how lucky is he?
Here's another angle. It was a simple spin.
Well, it is. And it's not often you see someone get a lift like this from the back up and over the car. He'd be looking at the moon, and that's very lucky that that rear wheel hasn't ended up lobbying in the cockpit.
And those roll hoops are absolutely essential in open-wheeler racing. They've protected all the drivers here. Sam Sewell's there, he's okay. All 3 drivers are out of the cars. We're wondering what on earth has happened, but we certainly know Ashley Walsh is the leader in the 3rd and final race. The final race of Formula Ford in 2007 at Phillip Island. Plenty of action in Formula Ford at Phillip Island this weekend to round out season 2007, and Brad Jones, the safety car was called because of this incident, which looks terrible, but all 3 drivers are okay.
It was an amazing incident. I mean, the Daniel Cottons was just involved in that to get the wheels lined up like that so he could launch a car. It was 1 in a million, really, isn't it? And very unfortunate accident. Fortunately, no one was hurt. They've repaired the cars very quickly, or should I say, dragged them off the road, put them on the truck, and we're just about ready to get back to racing.
Don't forget, coming up, the big one, the decider, race 3. The Dunlop Grand Finale. We're going to crown a V8 Supercar champion today. Can it be Garth Tander? Maybe Jamie Whincup, maybe Craig Lowndes. We know who the Formula 4 champ is. It's Tim Blanchard. He wrapped that crown up in race 1 yesterday with a really solid top 3 drive. So it's all about bragging rights in this last race when we restart this time by.
And it's going to be a ding-dong battle. These 2 guys, or 3 guys at the front, I should say, because Moffat's caught back up to them now, really were putting it on for us. There was nothing between them. We've got the slipstream down the front between Blanchard and Walsh. They're all zigzagging over the road at the moment, trying to get a bit of tyre temperature up. They start these cars with the tyre pressures slightly down a little bit, and as they race around, builds the pressure up, builds the temperature up. So the pace car comes off, or the safety car comes off early here. So the leader of the race dictates a pace up to the start-finish line, and he'll start to go quite early as they go past the line. You see him hanging back there. Watch him go. He's on the throttle now. He's racing. He's trying to just skip away a little bit so Blanchard can't get in his slipstream.
The restart, the green flag will be waiting and flying for Ashley Walsh. Tim Blanchard locking in like a missile for that slipstream.
And you see him move to the inside to try and break that toe.
It didn't work.
No, Blanchard's down the inside.
Turn 1 is fast at Phillip Island. It's fast when you're so low to the ground in a Formula Ford, but Tim Blanchard takes the lead. Ashley Walsh is second, and he's in a sonic sandwich here because James Moffat is lined right in behind, ready to attack.
And Moffat's been pretty fast all weekend. He's certainly lining up Ashley Walsh here. He's right on the back of the car.
So fast that he set a new lap record of 1:38.7 earlier on in the weekend.
You see them all run wide through that turn 3 and the run down to the hairpin. Really, it's just to try and stop anyone sliding down the inside of them as they brake and turn the vehicles in. But you can see them moving around. Ashley Walsh diving to the inside of Blanchard that time. Blanchard running a little wide, so it's going to give Ashley a bit of a run, but he's on the outside. Not a good place to be.
And James Moffat's ready to dive in to whatever space opens up. Too wide on the run through the hayshed. This is brave stuff, but they've given
now
one another a bit of room.
Blanchard's on the outside, and even though he's got his nose in front, he'll let Ashley through there. Great racing with these guys. They're certainly not giving each other much room. And all that dicing slows them up a little bit. It's allowed Nick Perquette to just almost get on the back of this bunch to get in their slipstream.
And he is flying the flag for the Van Diemen chassis for so many years. That was the car to have this year. It's been this car, the Aussie-built Spectrum, and the French Megane. Look at Tim Blanchard getting every last drop out of that slipstream.
And he's ducked back in again. He can't get the slipstream to work that time. Maybe he got out a little bit early, and what you need to understand is it works like a slingshot. You've got no air over your car. It runs up the back of the one in front. You pull out, and you have that much momentum going that you can slipstream your way past. But it didn't quite work for Tim Blanchard that time, but he's certainly got some speed. Have a look at him now. He's going to the outside at the hairpin.
And that could leave him high and dry for James Moffat to attack on the inside, and that's what he's going to do. He's on the wrong side, though, for the next one at Siberia. A bit further back in the pack, Christian Lindbaum, Ashley Walsh's teammate, has set the fastest lap of the race, but a report through of a potential penalty for him for overtaking on the restart. So just went a little bit too early. He's ninth in the order at the moment, but this is where the fight is. 1, 2 and 3, Walsh, Blanchard and Moffat.
Well, there is to be no overlapping till you get to the start-finish line. So if you've just got your front wheel past someone's back wheel, you're going to get a drive-through penalty.
Across the top of Lukey Heights, still a few laps to go in this one. Now the question is, do you want to be in front coming onto that Gardner straight for the last lap, or do you want to be second?
Look at that car get sideways there of Ashley Walsh. I think you want to be in the lead and you want to be fending people off. Not everyone would agree with me, but I think that it's really marginal to get the slipstream, and I think if you happen to be in front, then you're in the box seat. In saying that, if you're the guy looking to get there, look at these cars, they're working. You see Blanchard, he gets down the inside of Ashley Walsh here, but quite late down the straight, and I don't think on the last lap you're going to be able to get past by the time you get to the start-finish line, but it'll be pretty tight.
Ashley Walsh was passed for the lead, but has set the fastest lap of the race, 1:39.7. Still a second away from the fastest time that James Moffat set, set yesterday, and basically that's because they're so busy fighting with one another.
It is, and you get dragged down the straight. But you see how wide they're running. Walsh almost out on the grass there. I mean, that is not the traditional racing line, but they're staying out so wide so no one can get down the inside of them. And in doing that, it's almost allowed Moffat to drive right around the outside of Ashley Walsh. He's going to dive up the inside here, and I reckon he'll take that position. Smart driving by Moffat.
You can hear the four-cylinder engines are working really, really hard. Ashley Walsh, his championship
Hard to believe he was in the lead a lap ago.
Yeah, his championship aspirations went south yesterday. Had a loss of fourth gear and couldn't make it to the finish line, so virtually handballed the championship to Tim Blanchard. James Moffat attacking over the top of Lukey Heights. A lock-up from Tim Blanchard, and still 2 laps to go.
Well, Blanchard would see this. He'd put his head down and see if he can't get a decent lead.
Adam Graham, who we were on board with, was 8th and is driving straight back to the paddock.
You can hear a noise there with the car. It's obviously broken a drivetrain or something in the drive, maybe drive shaft or something.
Now Blanchard just edging away.
He'd be seeing these two dicing in the mirror and thinking, good. Even though they're slipstreaming by one another and getting a bit of a toe up onto him, he's have his head down, trying to get a bit of a buffer so he can pull away. I think here you need to probably have 8 car lengths coming onto the main straight so the slipstream doesn't have any effect. And fortunately for us, unfortunately for these guys, they can't seem to get that sort of gap.
Whoa, Josh Scott off on the exit of Southern Loop.
He's got bigger problems than a drive-through penalty, hasn't he?
He's in there somewhere in among all of that dirt and dust. Blanchard leading the way. Walsh covering the inside. James Moffat trying that outside move again. But this guy, Taz Douglas in the Hitachi Miguel, he is the fastest man on the track, and just slipping by Trent Harrison there in another of the Miguels to take 6th spot. And he was taken out in the earlier race today by Glenn Wood, who'd run off the circuit and rejoined on the other side. So Taz has come from the rear of the field. It's been a very solid drive.
Up to 7th place. It has been a very solid drive, and as you mentioned, he's the fastest guy on the track at the moment.
He's been fast this year, Taz Douglas, but not had the sort of luck, the odd mechanical failure. Last year's Victorian state champion. He's learned a lot, though, competing on the national level.
The car looks great. One of the good things about charging